Hi, Steffi here from The Makers. Welcome to making our Christmas tree. This is part of the 2025 Advent calendar and it is featured in day number 14. However, you can do this if you watch this video anytime in the future. You can make this obviously with your own supplies, and there wouldn't be an Advent calendar with The Makers without a Christmas tree project. So I wonder when I'm going to run out of ideas of how to make different Christmas trees. This one is using the pom-pom technique, and there's actually no needle felting at all involved. So I'm going to show you how to do this. In your Advent calendar day, you will have had 10 grams of the Shetland top, which looks a little bit like this, beautiful color. You do need a top, ideally. You will have also had about 1 meter of a brown embroidery thread, this one here, and you also had a brown 24 gauge paper covered wire. Now you will need extra, bit of a German twist there, some cardboard, and I have just cut a strip of an A4 sheet, and it's about 10.5 centimeter by 20, but you don't need all of this. What you actually need is this, a cardboard, because you're making a tree shape which will be about 9.5 centimeters wide at the base, 12 centimeters tall, and 2 to 3 centimeters wide at the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the cardboard the tall length that it needs to be, about 12 centimeters. I'm going to mark this here. There we go. And then I'm going to just cut across this at the top like that. So that's part of my shape. This is just extra for you to be reminded what you're actually getting. And then I'm going to cut it the right width, which I'm going to mark here as well. There. Cut that bit off. And to get it really nice and even, I'm going to fold this in half. So the cardboard, when I say cardboard, is probably more like a card. So it's a heavy weight paper. Don't go too thick on the cardboard, and you'll find out later why. But this is your shape now, and all you need to do is, because you know the width is the right one at the bottom, you just need to now taper it so that you're going towards the top this side. So you're going to cut the open sides, the excess off. So because it's about 2 to 3 centimeters wide, let's go with 1.5. I'm going to mark that there again. Just here. You might find other and better ways of getting to that shape, but I'm now going to go from here all the way down to the corner in a straight line to make that Christmas tree shape. Here we go. And now if you open up the card, you've got a neat triangular shape with a bit at the top missing. So when you've got your wire, you're gonna have to take 5 centimeters off. Now, normally you wouldn't have to do this, but because this is an Advent project, you're doing this because this 5 centimeter wire is needed for something else. Namely, it's needed for day number 19. So if you're following the Advent thing, you do need 5 centimeters of that wire for later. You don't necessarily need to do this, because you can cut the wire to the length, and then you're going to cut into the top of that cardboard about 1 centimeter. And now you're going to fold your remaining wire in half. Now normally a paper covered wire is 36 centimeters long, so you should still have 31 centimeters left, having taken the 5 centimeters off. And you insert that into the card here at the top, like that. And then you're going to twist the wire at the bottom, just a couple of twists, just so that it's secure. And then you're going to bend the ends upwards so they're tucked away. So you now have the wire secure on that cardboard. It's not moving anywhere, especially because you've put a slit here at the top. And then it's just a question of wrapping this like you would a pom-pom cardboard. But obviously we're going round and round in that way, so there's nothing going through the loop. And what I would suggest is split your wool, only because you might use all of it, but you also might decide not to. And I'm going to start here at the top. So if you use all of the wool, it will make a very bushy tree. I'm just going to go round. Try to keep the wool on the card rather it's slipping off. Oh, I think we'll use all of it. I think we will. And then continue. If you split the wool, you've got more control of putting it in around the whole card rather than sort of it accidentally running out of wool. And then you just make sure it's all the way down. I've got a little bit left here that's come off. Still put that on and go all the way around. So if you've got a bit of a loose bit, it might be better to actually put it underneath, but I've done it that way around now, so I've got to manage to keep it in place. Then you're going to thread your needle onto the cotton strand, and now you're going to sew the tree up, and you're doing this so that you're sewing it up through the middle, but you have to make sure that every stitch you make is on either side of the wire. So one on one side and the next stitch on the other side. So let's start by closing off the bottom here. So you do want to go round the wool to make sure it's completely encased. So trapping it with that first stitch. Going around the other side now. The trick is to be as close as possible to the wire whilst also going from one side to the other. And the way to do this is by feeling the wire inside. So I know that I'm now going to one side of the wire and I'm using a back stitch. And now I'm going to the other side of the wire. So you're sewing a whole line going through the card, but always keeping to one or the other side of the wire, alternating. If you miss one stitch and it's kind of on the wrong side, shouldn't worry too much about it. The reason why the stitches need to be really close together is because in essence you're perforating the card by putting stitches into it, and when we need to remove the card later, so it will be quite easy to pull the card out, or easy-ish, when you've got holes in it and you can literally tear it like a perforated sheet. So from one side it looks like I'm going that way, but actually I'm always going one step back. I'm doing a back stitch, but because I'm not going in a neat line, I'm going one way of the wire and then the other side of the wire. It looks a little bit like I'm going from side to side. I'll show you the stitch from the back in a minute. So that's the left side of the wire. Now I'm going the right side of the wire, and I'm feeling it with my fingers, so I know that I'm going one side or the other. So here you can see the stitches look a little bit more messy, like you would expect from a back stitch. Now the wire can't move because you've anchored it at the top, and you've tied it quite tight at the bottom. So the wire will always be in the same place. You just need to adjust your stitches. Going all the way up. Take your time, there is no need to rush this. The neater you make this, the more likely, or the more chances you have got that your tree will not fall apart, because you need the wool to be really secured and completely caught with that thread that you are putting through the middle here. And just now and then push my top down so it doesn't fall off the top. And continue to do that. You can go over it twice if you feel that is necessary. I'm only going to do it one way, but you can definitely go over it twice if you feel that's necessary. So still feeling my wire. Pretty confident I'm going one way, one stitch, and then the other stitch going slightly back on myself whilst I'm then going forward again. So it's kind of a sideways back stitch, if that makes sense. But my stitches going from side to side vary only by about 0.5 centimeter, so I'm not making a huge leap to the left and to the right. We're edging my way up to the top, going all the way, slowly but surely, making my way up. Of course you can vary the size of the tree by making the cardboard bigger or smaller. That's entirely up to you. There's that wire there. That's to the left of the wire. That's to the right of the wire. And the reason why I suggest not to use a proper cardboard is because it's going to be really hard to tear it. So the thickest thickness, I would say, is probably the thickness of a cereal box card. If you can get away with anything thinner, that's better. You don't want it to be too thin, so it's flopping. And the reason why we put the wire inside is so that we have an upstanding tree. In theory, you could scale this up really big if you wanted to make large Christmas trees, especially if you have the wire. I'm losing my thread here, going around the corner as well. So especially if you put a thick wire inside, you could probably make huge Christmas trees. Be fun to try out. Nearly there. Don't worry if it's wonky at the bottom. It will all come completely clear. So I just need to feel my wire again because I might have gone one way. Not enough than the other way. Still going round. I might just go back down with the thread as much as I've got left, just to make sure that I've caught all the wool. Not so much to make sure that the wire is one way or the other, but more to make sure that all of the wool has been caught by the thread so it can't pull through in a minute. Nearly there. And when you get all the way to the top, you're going to have to do again what we did earlier, where you trap the wool around your thread so that there's literally none of the wool can come off because you caught it. Nearly there. Taking my time. I know I'm now this is the top, there is no wire left. And so when you get to the top, make sure that you go over the top to get your wool truly caught here. And now I'm just going to go down the middle with as much thread I've got left, just to make sure I catch all the fibers that look like they're still a bit loose. And of course you can add more thread. This, in my experience, this is usually plenty. So sometimes at the top you get a little bit less diligent. So I think my bottom part has been sewn up a lot better. But I'm just doing a plain back stitch going down the middle again, just to ensure it's all there. And that also means I can just cut the thread whenever I need to, because it's not going to come loose with so much extra sewing that I've done. I'm using every single millimeter of thread if I can. Nearly there. Right, I'm going to call that a day. Can I get one more in? Yes. Okay, so I'm now cutting the thread there. You do need really good scissors, which I'm going to get now because the ones I'm using here, they're not so great. But I love my rainbow scissors, as you all know. So I'm going to now cut the sides open. Follow the card inside. Like that, catching all of the fibers. Do the same on the other side. There we go. All the way. And now you've got to take out the cardboard. Now the trick is to tease the cardboard out without getting this thread torn. And what I do is I just go all the way to one side and I start pulling the card so that the perforation almost comes off. If you've got a little bit of a spine of card left inside, don't worry too much about it, but get it. Can you see where my stitches were? It literally perforated the card. Then you're going to do this from the other side, and hopefully all of the card will come loose now, because it will pull away from the bit that's still left. But if there's a tiny bit of card left, as long as you don't see it on the outside, don't worry too much about it. If you can get it out, brilliant. But if there's a bit of card left inside, it'll be fine. Remember, you've got the wire in there, so the wire will hold the, so this bit of card I am just going to leave in there. So when you now even out your tree, so get all of the bits evened out, you're going to have a little tree, but it needs trimming, obviously. So you want to have the base nice and spread out. There's your wire, there's your thread. The wire you might just want to bend in a little bit just to tuck it out of the way so you don't have an edge. And then all you're going to do is you're literally going to trim the tree. Set it up and see where you need to go with this. It's quite a broad base, but they do look really nice with a broad base, so don't go crazy on trimming it too much at the bottom, but then just taper it going up. It's like making a pom-pom where you have to trim the pom-pom as well, so you do lose a lot of wool, but it's definitely worth it. So go tighter at the top and then work your way around the whole of the tree. Oh, that's not looking too bad. And of course you've got your tree. You can bend it. That's the whole point. So you can actually have it slightly bend if you want to, or just leave it as it is and make sure that it's got a nice firm base so it sits up straight. And there's your tree. Decorate it however you feel like. You're going to trim it a little bit more. I want the branches to sort of, the branches obviously would come down a bit, so brush it down a little bit. That makes it look much better. I'm using my fingers, but you can also use maybe like a very gentle brush or comb, and that will also make sort of some of the bits that need cutting off a little bit more visible. And there you've got your fairy tree. It's not a fir tree, it's a fairy tree. And make loads of those to make a winter wonderland if you like. I'm loving those because they just have this really lovely dense cover and they look just like a tree. Hope you enjoy this project. Can't wait to see your trees.